Hello everyone, back to tuning in to today's second video, doing European outlook for today's second video. So as always on a Thursday, we're having a look at the weather in detail for the next week, 10 days across Europe. And I shall get on with that for you in a moment. Just to say that the first video release today was our 6 AM UK weather forecast. But it's a 10 to 14 day coming at you later on today as well. So please like, share and subscribe on all of today's videos and content. And thank you so much everyone for doing that. So we're going to start off with situation across Europe today. We've got an area of low pressure sitting over the top, really, of the UK and Ireland. There's a thundery trough of low over France as well, bringing an end to the very intense heat wave that's been going on over there in the past few days. And we've got very slack gradients elsewhere across Europe. Upper air temperature show north-south divide. In the north and the west of Europe, it's generally rather on the coolish side, but really hot through the southern, southwestern portions of Europe again, through Spain, Portugal, into France and southern parts of Germany. Very, very hot through there with a plus 20 and plus 25 Celsius isoterms when truly established. It is much cooler, as I say, further northwards. Precipitation looks like that, so some showers over Scandinavia and northeast of Europe down into Baltic Sea states of Latvia, Estonia and Lithuania. A few showers on the eastern side of Europe as well. Some thunderstorms into central and northern parts of France, just clipping through the English Channel into towards the southeast of England. And some heavy downpours in the North Sea may be threatening southern and southwestern parts of Norway. Showers for Scotland and also for Ireland, otherwise mostly dry in many areas. So look at those temperatures, really, really hot again across most parts of southern and also southwestern Europe, from the mid-France southwards into south of France, temperatures up into the mid to upper 30s at least, if not the 40s Celsius, down in Spain and Portugal, the same true. Most parts of the Med looking very hot as well, and that heat does extend over into eastern parts of Europe to some degree. Obviously, it is a much, much cooler scene further north and west, and really quite autumnal through central and north parts of Scandinavia. Tomorrow's flow will see low pressure in the Ascent Sea across the north and the west of Europe. The upper air temperatures show that the heat is beginning to get pushed over into more central and eastern parts of Europe, just starting to show cooler air getting in towards France in particular, and also towards the Low Countries as well. Obviously, we've got the UK, Ireland and Scandinavia looking rather cool tomorrow with the upper air temperatures. And then the southern, central, eastern parts of Europe, that's where the heat is going to be on once again tomorrow. Precipitation, so we've got a cold front pushing eastwards out of France into the Low Countries and Germany. That's introducing this cooler air to the northwest. There might be some heavy showers, maybe a few thunderstorms mixed in with that. Further downpours as you come northwards in towards southern parts of Norway and Sweden, and in towards the Baltic Sea as well. Anywhere south and east of that, mostly dry, hot, sunny and very, very hot. And then to the north and west, showers through Ireland and the UK once more. The temperature look like that. The heat just easing through the Low Countries and France. We see the temperature starting to drop back to nearer normal values. Still very hot across many parts of Spain and Portugal though, and the heat extending through the Med and into these eastern parts of Europe. The heat patch can be more centred around the Balkans to the Black Sea, for example, tomorrow. Into Saturday, where we've got low pressure again in the north and the west of Europe, of the heat again pushed further and further eastwards. We see it's nice on the upper air temperatures again. It really is southern and also eastern parts of Europe, and southeast Europe has got the heat very, very hot through the Balkans on Saturday. That is where the heat will be migrating to from France. Further north and west, the upper air temperatures cooler, so much cooler and fresher over France, away from the extreme southern and eastern part of France anyway, and northern western Europe again, with those upper air temperatures looking rather cooler once more. As far as precipitation is concerned, heavy showers and thunderstorms through southern parts of Norway, Sweden, possibly extending in towards the Baltic Sea, and some heavy showers through the Baltic Sea states once again. Really heavy showers through southern parts of Germany into eastern France. Could be thunder mixed in with that. They extend over the Alpine regions. Most eastern parts of Europe looking dry, hot and sunny. And we've got further showers from off the Atlantic into the UK, Ireland and northern and western parts of France. Most of the Med looking mainly dry. The heat, again, it's really going to be through these eastern and southeastern portions again from the Balkans to the Black Sea, extending northwards in towards Ukraine and eastern parts of Poland. Very hot air through there. Most parts of the Med looking hot once more, and then out to the north and west, those upper air temperatures are significantly cooler. On into Sunday, we find that we're bringing in more of an Atlantic flow into the west of Europe by then, as the heat really is becoming centred in this east and southeastern part of Europe. So again, from North Africa through Italy into the Balkans and northwards up into far southwest of Russia. That's where we've got the heat becoming centred as we get through into the second half of the weekend. Cooler through Spain and Portugal, temperatures easing back there, and then generally again the northwest Europe looking significantly cooler once more. So really heavy showers and thunderstorms through the central part of the Med actually on Sunday. So again around the Balearic Islands of Mallorca, Minorca, Ibiza, some big thunderstorms through there, and they extend northwards into east parts of France, into Germany, and also the Low Countries as well. Scattered showers and thunderstorms north of that, into northern parts of Poland, and into towards Scandinavia too. Much of eastern Europe looking sunny and dry, hot, fine conditions, and out to the west becoming drier. That's through the UK, through Spain, Portugal, and into Ireland as well as France. East-west split for temperatures, so cooler in the northwest, but very, very hot still in this eastern and southeastern part of Europe. That is Monday, where it just looks like pressure gradually weakening really across most parts of the continent. So slowly the tide looks like things will be turning more and more unsettled. That heat getting pushed ever further eastwards. Heat dome getting pushed ever further eastwards by Monday by this cooler, fresher air coming in from the Atlantic. And yes, from a precipitation perspective, we do see that things are turning more unsettled with times. So heavy showers and thunderstorms through northern Italy, around the Alpine regions again, into eastern France, extending up into towards southern Germany. Austria, Hungary probably be affected by big storms as well. There'll be some storms starting to break out into the Balkans too, and possibly up towards the Ukraine and the Black Sea as well. Further heavy showers, thunderstorms, maybe long spells of rain through northern Europe, particularly affecting Finland and down into Baltic Sea states, and then more showery conditions coming into far north and west of Europe too. Hot air is still hanging on by its fingertips, still clinging on in this far eastern portion of Europe, but further north and west we see that the temperatures are turning cooler, and that cooler is transferring eastwards with time. That's Tuesday, so low pressure is across the north and west of Europe by then, and more areas of low pressure just beginning to develop really in situ across other regions of Europe as well. The heat really becoming confined now towards the Black Sea and Ukraine and the far southwest of Russia. Otherwise, it's a cooler scene across most parts of Europe. Heavy showers, thunderstorms, longer spells of rain, again through these central and also increasingly eastern parts of Europe. Further wet weather coming into Ireland, the UK and France, and showery conditions up into northern parts of Scandinavia and extending towards Finland and western Russia too. And even down into the Mediterranean, we've got big showers and thunderstorms affecting Italy, Corsica, Sardinia, and back in towards the Balearic Islands as well. Central parts of Spain and Portugal should be mostly dry, but showery conditions into the Bay of Biscay. The heat is still holding on just about from its eastern part of Europe, extreme eastern part of Europe, but most parts are looking cooler. Perhaps seeing some hotter air coming back into some parts of Spain and Portugal. That's going to be Wednesday. Again, just looks more unsettled generally across most parts of Europe once again, doesn't it? The upper air temperatures show that the heat is easing away really into to the east of Europe, and most parts looking generally cooler and fresher on Wednesday, with further heavy showers and longer spells of rain, possibly with thunder mixed in. Got more wet weather in the Atlantic as well, starting to head in towards the UK and Ireland, and just generally looking quite showery or wet across many parts of Europe by the middle of next week. Even in the far eastern regions of Europe, where it has been so very hot, we see the temperature begin to fall backwards as we get to the middle of next week, and otherwise temperatures much closer to average. Only in some places to the north and west, rather cool by middle of next week. And further areas of low pressure in control as we get through to Thursday, last day of August, and being tropical summer, of course, that upper air temperatures looking much more what you'd expect to see at the end of summer. Although it is turning hotter again through Spain and Portugal, especially central parts of Spain, and the heat goes on, of course, across North Africa too. Precipitation-wise, just lots of showers, longer spells of rain mixed in across large portions of Europe. France, Spain, Portugal, and the central part there may be rather on the drier side, but it is an unsettled scene as we go through next week, increasingly so, and temperatures again, they're on the cool side, especially for north and western Europe, but all areas seeing temperatures falling back from where they currently are. I'll just run you on today 10, so that's Friday, 1st day of September, and meteorological autumn, with low pressure to the north and the west of Europe, and further low pressure, particularly in northern and western parts of Europe, as we go through the first weekend of September, keeping unsettled conditions going, drier, and perhaps warmer over on the far east side of Europe, under what looks like a relatively flimsy ridge. Okay, so it's going to be a week of change. We're starting off, of course, with the heat wave continuing across France. One more day of that today, and then the heat will be easing away into eastern parts of Europe as we go through the coming week. We're going to find temperatures lowering. Pressure will be weakening as well. So with time, we're going to find more and more heavy showers, thunderstorms, and longer spells of rain developing initially in the north and west Europe and gradually progressing further eastward. So by this time next week, it looks like it's a much cooler and much more unsettled scene across the board, really, with the heat just holding on by its fingertips in the extreme eastern part of Europe. Okay, so if you enjoyed this forecast, please you like, share, subscribe, and show everybody doing that. Do it all over again next Thursday. Of course, we're going to be back later on with 10 to 14 day, which will include all our break features. Come back for that then. For this week's European Outlook, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.